Welcome to Learn the Sword. Many students have asked me, what is the best way to keep my sword from getting banged up? Well, that's really simple. Make sure you have a bag over it. If you have a rifle or a firearm, you always have a case for it. With Japanese swordsmanship, for centuries, they've always used cloth or something similar to make sure that the weapon is not bruised or it's scratched or it's blemished. So what I'd like you to look at is, how do you do the same thing? Now, of course, you've taken a bag like this, and you probably already have one if you do have a dull metal sword or a sharp steel sword. Nevertheless, you know how to put it in this, but let's take a second and put it in there a little bit more correctly the way my teachers showed me. Well, first of all, you need the bag, and then you open up the bag. It has an opening at one end, and you noticed over at this, it has a tang or a string that comes down. What I'd like you to see is how to put a sword into it. It isn't difficult, but there are a couple of things that will make you feel a little better if you know how to tie it completely. Nevertheless, let me grab one of my swords. This is a nice classical blade. You've seen it before. What you do is you take the classical blade or any sword and then you put it into the bag. After you bring it into the bag like this, the bag could be a little longer than the sword because unless you have one specially made, it's a little bit more difficult. So what you need to do, since this is a shorter sword, look at how much extra room I have. Now, if I used a longer sword like this one here, which is about 3 or 4 inches longer, it'd come up to this here. But what I'd like you to do is just take it, straighten it up, and bend it and fold it over like that. And then, after you've bent it, you folded it over. Now what I'd like you to do is bring it back up and fold it back this way. It always depends how long the handle is as a general rule. After you've done that, you sort of wrap it around like this. Then you take this area here and you wrap it around as long as that is. If it's 1 foot in length, you wrap it around a couple of times. If it's 18 inches, you probably wrap it around maybe 3 or 4 times, depending how thick the handle is and the material. So after you wrap it around, you put it underneath your arm like this to hold it, you loosen up one end, and you pull it through. Just that simple, like you do on your sageo. And then that way, you'll be able to keep the sword in the bag. When you pull it out of the bag, or when you move it around, or if you take it to your dojo or wherever, it's nice and easy to go. And with that, I want you to understand that if we are able to put this in a bag, how do we take it out? Simple enough. You take what I just did with the sageo and you just pull it through like that. And after it pulls through, it unwraps. You bring it around like this. Now you notice how I bring it around this way. I'm not rolling the sword as much. And I got in trouble with my teachers a few times for taking the sageo or this and wrapping it around like that. Like tea ceremony or arranging flowers, Iaido has a lot of ritual in it. And if every fold and every nook and cranny isn't covered, in some instances, that can be a detrimental point against the philosophy of Iaido. But since we don't go into it too deep, and down the road, if you choose to, just ask me those questions and we'll ponder those horizons. With that, have a great day.